Hello, hello, my name is Leslie Alfredson and I have the pleasure to welcome you to the premiere of DigitHub's Once Upon a Failure, where today's theme is when it just didn't turn out the way you had planned. Today we'll have three stories with three amazing speakers that we call heroes that they will share with us these journeys. Because you know guys, we all make mistakes and some opt to cover them up and never speak about them. But you and I are not like that. We are heroes because we see in failure an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to learn, to bounce back. And that's why you are watching this show today. DigitHub supports companies and the public sector with digitalization, and through this event, Once Upon a Failure, the idea is to highlight the journey of digitalization. You know that always is not that easy as we might think, and that's perfectly okay because it's something new. We're talking about innovation, we're talking about big changes. We do this event because we want to share stories of failure in a light-hearted and fun manner, using a virtual studio, as you can see, and a stage where we are inviting guest speakers that are our heroes, sharing amazing stories with us. And the most important is that we want to emphasize the lessons we learn on cultivating a culture of openness around the common challenges we face in digitalization. So we believe if we talk about these failures or mistakes we commit in this journey digitalization, we believe that we can become better. And that's why we decided to create this event. We believe that embracing failure is heroic. So let me dive right and introduce our first hero and guest speaker of the day. So are you ready, guys? Well, I have the very first hero here, and it's Jens Grip. Jens Grip is an entrepreneur that loves new ideas come to life. He founded Oathill in 2009 and now is the CEO of Höverska Huset AB, a group that contains Oathill, O404 and OVA. At heart, an early adapter with a burning interest for tech and people. Welcome, Jens, to the stage. The stage is yours.
Hi, my name is Jens Grip. I'm the CEO at Höverska Huset, and you can see a historical photo of the building we're not sitting in. That's the Höverska Palatset, and we're sitting in the storage room, a 4-story building which used to manufacture different parts in the first industrial revolution. I love history, so therefore we took the name of this extraordinary building. I also have a passion for testing new ideas, and I do not like to fail in the moment of failure. I don't believe I have met anybody who actually does that, but it would be fun to meet such a happy person. But the parts of failure is that in the long run, it really builds both character and knowledge and experience. So in that sense, I really love failing. And if I could get the next slide, I'm going to talk to you about where I'm at now, because the failure I'm going to speak about is for 10 years ago. And I think that knowledge that we got there actually have helped us build a small company group containing of Oathill 040 and on a Wednesday afternoon that are gathering 32 people from different companies under the same roof that are really experts in their field. I'm not going to go into that in detail, but this story is about Oathill. And if I can get the next slide, I'm going to take you back for the view of Oathill 10 years ago. The totally amazing Wayback Machine has saved me in a lot of presentations. And this is what Oathill was 10 years ago. And the failure we're going to talk about is the main part on that web page. Letar du efter underhållning? Are you looking for entertainment? It's Artistbanken, and it was one of our largest projects that we actually also invested in as a really new started company back in 2011. And already then we were looking to the future, and you can see down in the bottom, down there, we're looking at the future mobile web in 2011. And yeah, that's what's fun. If we go into the next slide, I actually think that when you're launching a project, mainly as a startup project or like a new business idea online, I think you actually need these 4 parts. You need passion. You need passion for the project, both from your team, from the customer, and hopefully also from the customer's customer. That is the most important part. You need marketing to actually reach out with your great idea and your great product, because it's no use having a really, really nice chair in a room which nobody sees it. You need timing. I have always loved being in and looking at the forefront of things, like investing in a 3D company, 3D printing company back in 2007. Also a bit too soon. I think that was my last failure session, by the way. And if you're doing something on the web, you really need great tech. And this project at Artistbanken, I'm going to walk you through the 4 parts here in the history 10 years ago when we built it, and what went wrong and what actually went good. So if I can get next slide. This is Odd Hill 10 years ago. We were a small group of people, everybody in their 20s, except for maybe Daniel there, who was in his 30s. But sitting in a really cheap offices with a lot of love and a lot of passion. People even made cakes with our name on it just for the passion part. And we got a client who had an existing site. This was back in 2011, that has the purpose to combine artists that want to perform at weddings and other events with potential buyers. And he had that up and running from like the early 2000s as a just free project, but he wanted to make this startup and viable business. We were so passionate about it that we said we didn't have that many expenses at the time, so we said we will work half the project for free if we get some equity. So the passion was there, both from us and the client. If we go to the next slide, I'm going to talk about the first failure of this project. When you have something, you actually need to market it. If you have a project that you want to put out, this doesn't matter if you're in the private sector doing a startup, or if you're in the public sector trying to reach out with an idea. If nobody hears you, it's no use. Back in 2011, it was kind of like an impression that from some people, and I think actually from our client, that if you put something on the internet, everybody's going to see it. Like, I'm standing here, look at my things, it's easy. So when we looked at the marketing budget for this, I think 600 to 800 hour big project, which was really big for us at the time, and we didn't have any marketing budget. That was a huge challenge. If we look at the next slide, I'm going to talk about the timing of each project. This is how many who have access to internet in the household and how many that are using e-commerce tracking. And if you look at it, and I don't know if you see these small numbers, but in 2011, we actually had 85 people who had access to internet in their home. And if we just look back 2 years, the rate was 72%. This means that 20%-ish, 15% didn't have internet at all, and we had 30% that were new users. The e-commerce usage at 2011, I don't know if you see that, it's been in the middle part, but it hasn't taken off at all. And this part was a new idea, a new way of connecting people that people actually didn't use at the moment and weren't accustomed to. So if people are not buying their shoes on the internet, don't expect them to buy their music, live entertainment on the internet. And this is the part of timing. I love to have those projects that are early in time, but think about the timing in each project. And if I can go to the next slide, tech in this part. I'm still proud over the team that built this site because it ran for almost 10 years with no bugs, no leaked security information, and actually with absolutely no maintenance the last 5 years because the client didn't have the money for it, and we were just like letting it go on and take in some minor incomes. It was also, I was really proud of the combination of tech and design on this part. So that was really good in the project. But if we go to the next slide, we can actually see that having 2 out of 4 things in this just isn't enough. You have to be in the right timing and the market. Even if you have the passion and the great tech, you could have continued with this project for how many times at a time. But if you don't have it, then it's hard. So I think if we go to the next slide, I'm nearing my end of this. And I hope that you have liked watching this and hopefully learned something. And I can also say that the client in this part was a really lovely person, and I still enjoy meeting him during the project. So even if you fail, do keep the friendships and connections. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions or thoughts. And that's all for me.
Thank you so much, Jens. It has been really enlightening to listen to your story. And also everyone that is watching us right now, please don't forget that at the end we will have time for questions. So we'll have the 3 guests together on stage. So please write down your questions. You can write them and share with us on the chat. So Jens, Elsa, and Lucas will be very happy to reply to your questions. Thank you so much, Jens. So now it's time to introduce our next guest, Elsa Melvanius. Elsa Melvanius has been in the IT industry for more than 20 years, starting off as a system developer during the glorious IT boom, equally passionate about tech and arts, obsessed with creating usable IT solutions. Currently heading the IT consulting agency IHIQ business in the south of Sweden. Before that, she was the CIO and CDO at the municipality of Lund. Are you ready, Elsa? Because we're so ready to see you.
Sure, of course I'm ready.
Yes, so the stage is yours.
So let's kick off my presentations with the next slide. I will give you no more than 3 of my fuck-ups during my career. I've had many, but I will share 3 of them with you today. And yet, as we all do, I will probably keep on doing fails and fuck-ups going on as well. But I think the most important part is, of course, what we're here for today, to learn from them. So if we go to the next, and I will give you my first one. So number 1, Guide Lund. This is from my time as CIO and CDO in the city of Lund. And I came from the private sector into the public sector. And what really amazed me when starting in the public sector was that the lack of collaborations between the 290 municipalities that we have in Sweden. So they're basically 290 organizations doing more or less the same thing in 290 different ways. So when the city of Helsingborg came to me and kind of gave away their audio guide for tourist attractions for free, I was really thrilled. But my own organization didn't share the same enthusiasm for this. So we did stroke a deal. So with the tourism department and the communication department, saying that, okay, Åsa, if you manage to get the big tourist attractions on board, you'll have a go, and we will go ahead with this project. So I did. I got the cathedral with the Swedish church. I got the university with all of their attractions in the city. I got the outdoor museum that we have. I got another art museum. And some more, the botanical garden. So we were good to go, and we launched the app. But even though, I still think it's a great idea, and you still can use it for a while more, it didn't fly, because if your own organization isn't interested in, taking care of this and, developing it further, it won't fly. So basically, this was a fail. So if we skip to the next one and talk about, what did I learn from this? So the learning is basically this. You do your knitting in the evenings, and you put a lot of energy into this great, nice-looking sweater that you love, and that, you put so much into it. You really, really have to make sure that there is someone that you intend to give it to that actually would like to receive it. So that was the learning from the first fail. And if we skip right into the second fail, this is about user experience, and this example goes a few more years back. So this was in the early 2000s or mid 2000s somewhere, where we were building a system, customer support tool for a big utilities company, and they have customer support throughout the country. So we did a very good job. We were traveling the country, doing interviews with the support staff to make sure, that we really developed functionality in this product that they really wanted. And that was all fine and dandy. But what we did miss was that, coming home with all of this nice information about what they wanted, we designed the solution. We missed a very crucial and important part. We didn't test the solution on the end users. And obviously, thinking about what you want and what you really want isn't at all the same thing. So this was also a fail. So if we go to next. So I just want to emphasize this as a learning from that. And also being really passionate about this topic, this is something I would like all of you to really think about when you go into digital products. Your user is king, and it's so important that you involve them in the entire process, and especially in the testing part, where they actually test and feedback, and you fine-tune the solution that you build. So that was, the learning from the second fail. So if we go into number 3, so this is also from a more recent one, from my time in the city of Lund, and here in the role as Chief Digital Officer, one of my goals was, of course, to create a digitally mature organization. And I would like to give you some background on this. So if you skip to next, you will see something that kind of exemplifies what I'm trying to tell you here, is that so when we build IT systems or digital products, we very often, we have a high investment in the start. of the project or the product life cycle. So you basically, you buy a product or you develop a product by yourself together with a partner or with your own, but there is only cost associated. You don't have any return of investment at that stage. And also you go live, you still only have cost, you don't have any return of investment. And then what often happens is that you kind of stop investing in the product, and it's actually quite late in the process where the accumulated business value actually exceeds the cost that you have put into the product. And very often I've seen that you kind of you blame the product for not, supporting your processes in the way you want. So in the worst case, what happens is that you actually decide to buy something else or invest in something else, and you kind of throw what you invested in away, even before you have reached that return of investment cross, as you can see on the slide. So if you go to next, what I really wanted to achieve was that you build an organization that actually takes care of your investment in digital tech and system that should support our business. And that means that we need to have an organization that continuously work with development, continuously work with improvements. So actually I don't like the word of application management, AM, and support, because it is a continuous development that we are looking at nowadays. So having an organization that supported this required some training and some joint processes and so on. So we had plenty of different system administrators and object administrators and product owners throughout the organizations. So here we built a really strong business case on how we could streamline this in a very good way. But that of course required some movement of people in the organization in order to build this really effective organization and skilled organization. And this was also, I wouldn't say a total fail, but a bit of a fail, or at least it was a big fail in the sense that it didn't go at all in the pace that I expected or wanted. So it took much longer, and I think I left now for another role, but I think it's still work that goes on in the organization. Being, if we go to the next, if you talk about learnings, and of course, I'm not new to this. I should have known. It's always change takes time, and change requires change management. And it's so important also when it is about people and people's daily work that you really have a great and good process to really get anyone on board and win everyone over, so that everyone else also sees this glorious future. So that was my third example in this failure session. So you can change to the next. So I just wanted to say thanks, of course, and for listening. And of course, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or in other ways, of course, as well. It's been super fun to share with you, and looking forward to discuss with during the Q&A afterwards as well.
Thank you, Åsa. It has been really a pleasure, and great lessons from your own digitalization journey through your career is very, very interesting. So don't forget that, guys, please write down your questions on the chat, because very soon you will have the opportunity to make these questions to our guests. So thank you so much, Åsa. So now it's time to introduce to our third speaker of this time. So we have Lucas Hammarström. Lucas is a problem solver, gamer, developer, reader, vegan, and clean tech enthusiast. He likes to build things and be useful. That is pretty good, Lucas. So welcome. The stage is yours.
Thank you. That was a really nice introduction. We can just jump into the first slide. So this is my company that I started 1.5 years ago. It's a company called Bottle, or Bottle in Swedish. So I started Bottle because when I looked at the recycling industry, I realized that they had a huge problem. The problem was that young people just didn't want to recycle. The user experience is really old. Something that should be taking seconds is taking minutes, and the compensation system was based on an outdated cash system. So there was a lot of work to be done. So I threw myself into this industry because I wanted to, bring it. I thought it was just lacking, and I just wanted to make it a lot better. We can take the next slide. So I ended up creating this app. I basically looked at the industry and I thought, how can I make this as good as I possibly can with the hardware that I'm bound to? I'm not going to talk about this project today. I'm actually going to go back in time for my fail when I was 18 years old. So this was 7 years ago, in 2015, when I just wanted to get into the tech scene after gymnasiet. So we can go to the next slide. So a mantra of mine that I didn't really choose, but I think it's a double-edged sword, is that I do something first and then I learn. I don't try to plan every step ahead. I kind of just throw myself into something. And this has some really nice benefits, but also it has some drawbacks. So my fail comes straight from this drawback. But I still like to, I still like this mantra. So it's not anything that I'm going to be throwing away soon, and we're going to come back to that. So this is my first tech project. So we can go back, next slide. So I'm going to be telling you the story of Horseflow. So this was another industry that I thought was completely undigitized. This was back in 2014, 2015. So it wasn't really obvious to create online communities. So I saw this obsessed community that was being neglected on the current platforms, like, for example, Facebook and Instagram. So when they uploaded horse pictures, their friends thought they were just crazy horse people, and their horse friends wanted them to upload more horse content. So they didn't have a niche platform. So this is why I wanted to create Horseflow with some of my friends. So we can go to the next slide. So this is no easy task. This meant that we had to create an Android app, an iOS app, a web platform, and we had to, get funding for this. So we actually got funding, and this is not where the fail started. So the thing is that we were so excited about our project, and we were kind of naive too. So we just wanted to create this amazing next Instagram and just put it into the market and just blow up. That was our plan, pretty much. So we can go to the next slide. So we started asking around, who can help us develop this project? We need to find someone who can help us develop this. So we asked around in our network, and we found a coding company in Stockholm that we ended up meeting. And this meeting went really well. We kind of clicked in this meeting, and we came up and we agreed that they would develop this project for us. They would also take a small share of our company, because we wanted them to have skin in the game. And we thought that this was, this was our plan, that we were going to release this product, and then we were going to make money, and then we were going to, get our own team or something like that. And now you can maybe see where the fail is coming in here. We can go to the next slide. So the problem here is that it didn't really work out in our favor, because we slowly realized that we became customers to them, and they weren't really a part of our company, which is disappointing. But this was the reality of it. We also realized, well, now looking back, one big major drawback with this approach is that you're kind of limited when it comes to iteration. Once you have a product, you only have one shot at getting it right. Otherwise, they will start charging you more and more and more. And if you don't have any resources left, you're basically stuck with the product that you can't iterate and create product market fit. And that means that you have to create something that the user will love. And if you only have one shot at doing this, the chances of this happening is very small. So we can go to the next slide. So how did we solve this? Well, let's imagine that you have two companies trying to solve the same problem and creating an amazing product for the user. So they both have the same vision, but one of them have an in-house team and one of them are relying on an external team. If the first product is not sufficient, the in-house team can just buy a pack of Red Bulls and just get it done. The second team is basically cornered, and this is where what I'm trying to explain, that this is where it just didn't work out. Also, when you're looking to speak to investors, they're not only going to look at your vision and your product, they're also going to look at the team, and if you have the capacity to continuously iterate until you have a product that is great. And if you are completely relying or outsourcing the most important aspect of your company, you are simply you can't do that, which was the reason to why this project ended up failing. We can take the next slide. So this is something from my lesson from this is something that I took with me, and is one of the reasons to why I'm doing much better now. And I eventually learned programming and building products myself. But it's not very nice to be a customer inside your own company. And when I'm talking about this, it means that outsourcing crucial components to your startup or company that you want to continuously make better it's a short-term solution. For example, if you have employees that are not truly your employees, they will never really be a part of your culture, which is something that you want to eventually start building, and it can be just as important as the product. So this was something that I struggled with, and eventually, well, we can go to the next slide. The lessons learned here is that I wouldn't do this again, but I see companies and also startups and also larger companies that maybe try to go to market without building their own team. And I see mostly in startups, but yeah, I have seen this in larger companies too. But this didn't change my approach on do first and learn later. I think I will always be that way, but this is just one thing that I learned on the way, and I'm happy that I did, because I'm not going to be doing this mistake again. So this is considered kind of a rookie mistake in the high-end startup community, but it's still something that happens a lot, and it could be prevented if you are more patient and try to build a stable team before you jump into the tech. So with next slide. So yeah, that was my fail. I didn't get to talk anything about my company today. We're about to release through, I can't say which grocery store yet that we'll be releasing through, but you can look at our website at bob.com or send me an email if you want to learn more. So thank you.
Thank you. And I have here some more questions from our audience. First, Rita says, thank you very much for sharing your failures. Very interesting, and we all should reflect more often on lessons learned. That's true. And then we have one more question. How did your organizations or customers react when they realized that the project was not going to succeed? When they realized that it failed and they lost their investment, for example? Who wants to ask?
Yeah, so if I take, my mid example, I have a few of those as my examples, right? So with a customer support system, that was a slow death, I would say. It was, they used the product for a number of years actually, but then it kind of slowly faded away. With the first one, with the guide app, that will be closed down. And with the third one, that hasn't really failed yet. It's just, the speed was a fail. So that is still, I will still check in and see how they're doing. But how the organizations react, yeah, it's it's a bummer. Of course, you lose money. In the second case with the customer app, it was used, so there was not that big of a disappointment. In the first example, we were basically given it for free, so it was not that big of a loss when it comes to monetary. But of course, a lot of work and hard work that was put into it. So that is kind of more of a emotional loss, I would say.
Yeah. Yes, Jens.
I can be on this part because I think it's really great that, like the city of Lund does these parts where they actually try new things. And I think it's really important to be allowed to fail there, because it's organizations that have the resources to fail. And you can come and say like tax money, oh, we shouldn't waste money, but it's not a waste because the gains are higher on the like one part that succeeds of 10 failures. So I'm really impressed about those parts. In our part, we had a small entrepreneur who actually was really invested in monetary ways. And of course, we were down and a bit sadder than otherwise. And this was, of course, for not perhaps investing a bit too much in something that you couldn't afford. And I think that's a valuable lesson in failing. Don't be afraid to fail with your spending capital. If it's your time in the young period of your life, go ahead and fail. And if it's that you have a lot of money and just can throw it around, do that. But be careful not to like bet too much, would be my part, because that's when the real sadness comes from failure.
So you have some room to recover from those failures.
Don't bet your money.
Yes, Lucas?
I think it's easy to fail, but it's really hard to fail fast. There is something called the sunk cost fallacy that just makes us value something that we already invested into. And I see this over and over. And I think it's more frequent, actually, larger organizations, because startups are motivated to cut things off quickly. But it's also, with office politics and everything, it just feeds into this sunk cost fallacy. So I think if you're listening to this and you don't know what that means, I think it's worth looking it up. And it's basically what I said, but I think it's worth just reading it and learning it, because it's something that everyone is just going to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
So you might, yeah.
So I just want to say, do you want to add something, guys? Because now we're coming to the end of the show. Some thoughts that you have?
I have to say, I was really inspired by the slide where you had this like maintenance curve and the business value and accumulated cost. I think that a lot of great projects are not being furtherly developed, just as you said, and is also a failure on a successful product that gets developed further. So that was really inspiring.
Wonderful. So I just want to say thank you so much, guys, for being here today. And I want to say also thank you to all of you for watching. This is also like an innovative way to send to stream and share with you in a different way and a different platforms. So I hope you enjoyed this stream as much as we did. And I just want to say thank you to all our heroic speakers and guests for attending today. It's a great way to run off the week. And for more DigitalHub events, you can visit the website digithub.se. And don't forget to register for our next Once Upon a Failure that is going to take place on December 3rd. And we're listening to all your feedback. Thank you, guys, for being so nice and sharing your feedback with us. We're going to make sure it's going to be even better next time. And if you have experience in digital failure and you learn something that you would like to share with us, please don't hesitate and contact us so you can be our next guest and you can be on the stage. You can just leave your information on the chat if you want. So, thank you. And with that, I want to wish you a wonderful rest of the day. Have a great weekend. Thank you guys and see you next time. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.